Kenty Blitz for your Monday. It's Adam Peacock in for Warren Livingston, but Kenty is here. He's fronting up all the time, unlike Was.
Yeah, well, mate, if you've got a footy season, that's essentially what you're about. I think you're expected to sort of stick around for the footy season, aren't you?
It's not a long season.
It's not a long season. I love these guys who, they work so hard. They take, the 7 months that they do work, they take a holiday in the middle of it just to sort of give themselves a rest. So
It's a fresh
good
run.
on you, Was. Like, over there in Hawaii on the beach, sending you disgraceful drinks.
Yeah, he sent me a photo of him sipping a pineapple daiquiri. I didn't know a daiquiri came in the pineapple version, but good on you, Was. He's just trying new things.
He does look like the daiquiri type of guy, doesn't he?
He does. Hey, let's get to the big topic. It's Origin selection. Yeah. So Queensland, is this a massive dice roll that they've come up with or expected and fair enough?
Look, it's a little bit sort of in between, but I'd sort of more point towards that there is a bit of a roll of the dice here, okay? And the thing is, that's when Queensland are most dangerous. Like what they've done here, it's what I found fascinating was after game one when they really got bashed up through the middle. There was a lot of talk about let's get Josh Papali'i back in. Okay, so and Billy came out and straight away just ruled it out. No, he won't be coming back. Papa's had a great career, but he's retired. He won't be playing Origin. Then they go through, they win game two. Mo Fotuaika didn't put his best foot forward in the game. And then out of this game, Papali'i, first, he's in sensational form. I'd actually go as far to say, Adam, that he's in better form now than when he retired from Origin in 2022. Like he's playing better club football than he was then. Now, part of that might be because he's rested. But he's been playing a real good brand of footy, really suits the Raiders. But most importantly for Queensland, I think he's what he needs. They need. He's just going to toughen them up through the middle. They were very good in game two, but I think that I think it's a good sign and it's a worrying sign for New South Wales. So well done, Queensland. And Shibasaki, I tell you what, that's just way out of the left field. That one. They've got really, really inexperienced rookie centres now. Toya's playing his third game and Shibasaki's playing his first on debut. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, the first game of the season, wasn't it? Well, the first game on Australian soil, the one of, was Brisbane Roosters. And those two guys matched up on each other. If you said that night after walking away from Allianz Stadium that those two will be starting centres for Queensland at some point during this year, you would have been told, go get the straight jacket on, see you later, and we'll see you in 12 months. It's an incredible story for Shibasaki.
Yeah, it is. Well, a trade and trial contract last year. So he's basically turned up. They had a look at him and they paid him $1,000 a week. And then out of that, he's now just been picked for Origin. It was a really nice moment, I thought, when Billy Slater spoke about that this morning. And he said that when he spoke to him, Shibasaki was honoured that he thought he was coming in as like the 19th, 20th man to basically get a feel of it and to run against the starting side when they do their ball work and their opposed sessions and all that. And Billy said, no, mate, you're actually starting, you'll be the starting centre for Queensland. A little bit like the Tom Dearden moment a few years back. So I'm a bit, from a New South Wales point of view, because you got to clarify that. But from a New South Wales point of view, this is a really worrying sign for New South Wales. Like there's just that whole Queensland ambush about this game. And like Tabuai Fado, fullback, kind of a surprise. The big thing there, which really hasn't been addressed, Reece Walsh has been brought in as 18th man, and the reason that they believe, we're led to believe that he's 18th man and not starting is because Billy's concerned about his knee. Now, they can't go out and clarify that and put that down as the reason because if there is an incident in camp and he has to suddenly start, they don't want that there and say, oh, oops, we shouldn't have said that.
All of a sudden, he doesn't have a knee problem.
Yeah. So, and look, we saw him warm up 2 games ago, Walsh, and he was in tremendous pain before the game.
Yeah.
And he really stiffened up. He was hobbling. Once he got out in the field, clearly he was okay. But the understanding is Billy didn't want to take that risk in this game to have to firstly nurse him through camp if that's what's needed. I'm not sure what sort of running he can do throughout the camp, but he didn't want to take that risk. And then secondly, he just didn't want to run the risk of getting 5 minutes, 10 minutes into the game, the knee getting bumped or overextended or something like that, and suddenly he's out, and that just puts your whole bench rotation into chaos. So he's taken a safe option there. He's taken a risk with a couple of other guys, and it just sort of smacks of that Queensland ambush. We're going to go in. We're poor old Queensland. We're underdogs, and don't take us too seriously because we're just going out there to do our best and look what's coming.
Papali'i, back to him. So the great Queensland sides, you think of, through the 90s and early all through the 2000s, you had guys like Webke and Silva Da Silva, guys that, weren't going to go, wow, he's playing, he's going to be the game breaker, but presence, especially in camp. Papali'i, I mean, Ricky Stewart pretty well, and what Papali'i brings to that young Canberra side, I'm guessing it is just being there. Doesn't have to say much, but he's there, and everyone knows he's there. Is that the kind of vibe you get with this selection?
It's a funny one. He's one of those players that, and you hear it about some of the greats, not all the greats, but some of the greats, but then you hear it about guys like Papali'i, who I wouldn't say is an all-time great, but he's one of those club greats at Canberra that he just gives comfort to the players in the dressing room before the game. When they look around, they see him putting on his socks and then his boots and putting the jersey on. Like they get something out of that. They just find a comfort that he's there because he's going to do his job. He's going to do the hard stuff. He's going to do the stuff that, like those hit-ups through the forwards are frightening. Those hit-ups off kickoffs, if he takes that, which he probably will at some point, like the collision at the end of those, they are just bone rattlers. And to have somebody there who is not going to shirk that you're not going to have to be concerned about, that he's going to perhaps not quite get there or match the level of intensity of the opposition, or he's got to get continually put on his back when he comes through. If you have someone there that you can trust him to do his job, and he's a big, tough guy, then they're the guys players just love to play with. And one thing about every footballer, they love to look around and see that they've got a tough front rower inside. Yeah. And that's what I think he brings to that. Tino is a similar ilk. He's a guy that they look around, they think, mate, he's got our back. If anything happens, he's got our back. And they know that, look, I really think that Papali'i's got to come in and do that run on the back of him and Tino working together, where they'll be able to sort of hit that 1-2 punch, quick play the ball, next guy comes, and that just really sets up their momentum for the game. So he brings many things into the game. I think the fact he's come back for a Game 3 decider, he's going to be really up for it. Look, he's already walking on clouds at the moment. He's just had a little boy, as we all know. He's having a few days out of camp now to go back to Canberra and essentially meet his young son that his wife's just had in hospital, and obviously check the Chizo case. He's going to spend a couple of days there before he gets back into camp, which will come. He'll miss the bonding part, but he doesn't need that. And he'll... he's had enough of those. He's had enough of those. He knows what they're about. And, and he'll go back into camp when they're ready to start ball work. Interestingly, too, he's the last player, now that he's come back, but he's the last player who was involved in the 8 straight. So he was part of that last great Queensland side. That not the last, I suppose. They went 3 more after that when they had that little break in between. But they look, he just brings a lot of presence to that camp.
Is it Langer-like in the resurrection? Like we go back to 01 when Alfie got called?
Yeah. Like I've heard that today at the press conference. One of the journalists asked that about it, and look, I think Queensland will try and spin it that way, and they'll probably sell this narrative that within camp it is, but it's not in real terms. I know when I was working at the Telegraph back then, I was sent to Brisbane basically to cover Queensland camp, which was unusual back then.
Yeah. You're an intruder then.
Yeah, and basically just to cover Ala Langer. But we were selling an extra 15,000 to 20,000 newspapers a day
because of
Alfie. And that was like unheard of. It was just... Like, it was one of the greatest things I ever saw, Alfie Langer coming back in that game and then put on the performance that he did.
Were you at the airport that night when he lobbed on the plane? Because there was rumours, and then all of a sudden... Because the story goes that actually Bennett reached out to Jason Smith first.
He did, yeah.
And he didn't get released, so then Alfie...
They wouldn't release him, and so then he went to Alf. That sort of takes a little bit away from the fairy tale, so you're not supposed to tell that part, you know what I mean? Because that takes away from the fairy tale. But yeah, he did. Bennett went after Jason Smith first. His club wouldn't release him. Alfie was playing at Warrington, I think it was, and they agreed to release him. I got told he was playing when he was on the plane home, but I was asked to not say anything about
it. Now, there's
I couldn't say it, which was frustrating, to be honest, because I knew it was happening and I wasn't allowed to write anything about it. And then just before he flew back, it basically had got round. Someone had let the cat out of the bag about it. Ben Iker was actually the bloke that picked him up from the airport.
Yeah.
So Wayne sent him along to pick him up at the airport. But yeah, by the time Alfie arrived, pretty much people knew he was playing. But yeah, I knew sort of like a day before when he first got on the plane home that he was coming. But
did you get something in return for keeping that?
No, mate. You don't. That was Wayne was coach then. You don't do favours with Wayne.
Fair enough. Back to Billy in Queensland. So we've got some quotes here. It's like. Playing for Queensland, these group of men, it's for our state. The people of Queensland own this footy team. It's a task, but what an opportunity. It feels like something building over the next 9 days.
That's what it's, I dare say too, at some point there'll be a couple of old legends that are going to come in and they'll go to the top shelf for these guys. You know what I mean? They won't just pull in some bloke that put on a jersey 10 years ago. Like this will be like whether it's a Mal Meninga or a Wally Lewis or a Chris Close kind of thing. I listened to Billy talk about that, and on the one hand, I kind of find it a little bit disingenuous. I think he thinks it, but just the overuse of it makes me think. You're like it's a hard sell. Like it's when like people they sell it to you too hard, and you try to.
It's when someone tells you how rich they are, and you're like thinking to yourself, "Do you really need to tell me how rich you are?"
Yeah. If you're so rich, mate, you don't need to tell me. Yeah, that's the sort of part of it. But that sort of Queensland mythology is something that Billy has really handled very well.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, certainly at the press conference, I thought it was a bit too much. When they were all sort of stacked together, one quote on its own looks great. 5 quotes. It's like a cup of, a spoonful of sugar in your coffee. One might make it nice, but put 5 or 6 in there, and suddenly it's too much.
And you've got diabetes.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're all getting a bit of Queensland diabetes down here in New South Wales. That said, though, I think it's a real indication of what this camp's going to be about. And this is going to be a camp where they're going to really go back to. This is an opportunity to do something that very few Queenslanders have done, which is win a game 3 after losing the first game. On top of that, if they do win this game, it'll be the first time ever in 45 years of Origin that they've ever won a series by winning the last 2 games of the series away, playing away from Queensland. They've always had to play at least one of those last 2 games at home when they've fallen behind 1-0. So that'll be something I think they'll put in their cap when they sit down and they sort of set their goals and try and find that little message within camp about doing something different and and about taking their place in Queensland folklore. And you can just see the builds on.
95 series. It emanated out of Camp 2 that 95 has become a theme.
Well, 95 was the theme because they were written off, and I think Billy went that way after they lost the first game and then had to win the next 2 on the road. So they've gone down there to do just to find that little bit of, what's the word, like that narrative that you put through camp that just gives everybody something to reflect on when times get a little bit tough here and there. And I remember speaking to Mel years ago about the whole motivations and things like that. And I said to Mel, look, I've always thought if you really need to have somebody call you a grub, for example, let's go to there, to get motivated for an Origin game, you're probably not fit for Origin. Like the players should be motivated already. He explained it to me that it's not motivation as such. He said it's basically a trigger. He said, so when you're in the game and you are saying, you're under pressure, you're fatigued, you're tired, and you're looking for a break. You're hoping the referee calls a penalty or like a scrum, or there's something happens that we can just cop 5 minutes or 2 minutes to get your breath back, and you're under pressure defensively. He said it's something that we remind each other of. Whatever that trigger is, they remind each other of that.
Reset your mind.
Just to say, just get back to what you got to do and forget about how tired you are. So I get it from that point of view, and I understand that. And I really think that's got to be the message in this Origin camp, that Queensland are going to go back to this whole mindset of nobody counts us a chance. Nobody's done this before. No Queensland team's done this before. Ironically, New South Wales has. But they just look at. It's a setup waiting to happen. Like this is just playing out perfectly for Queensland.
He did point out though that Queensland actually didn't win the battle of the field position in game 2.
That's a big thing too. So we all think with the penalty count in game 2 so heavily in Queensland's favour, 6-0 at half, 8-0 at half time, whatever it was.
8.
8-0 at half time. Yeah, and that
one got overturned, so it was actually 9.
Yeah, but, yeah.
Not that I'm bitter, but yeah.
Yeah, but the idea out of that is that Queensland just had all this ball, and that's why they won, particularly given the lead that they got out to. But he pointed out, I think it was 47 times Queensland had to tackle New South Wales in their 20-metre zone, 28 times that New South Wales had to tackle Queensland. So Queensland actually were well behind on that. I will say I do think a lot of that was right at the end of the game.
Yeah. When
New South Wales were just they had all their momentum, were coming home, but to their credit, could not break the line, and they only needed to do it once, and they would have won the game. So. Yeah, there was. He did point that out, and again, I think that's got to fall into the whole narrative of look, guys, let's give ourselves a chance here. Let's understand we actually had less ball than they did in good ball position, and we still won the game. So let's not look at ourselves. Don't look at what the bookies have got us at $3. We're actually a better chance here, and we're going to go out. We're going to show everybody that's counted us out and doesn't think we can do it, and doesn't think that we have the team that New South Wales has. We're going to show them what Queenslanders can do. So that whole folklore building, storytelling sort of stuff, that's going to be really present in this camp.
Yeah, and obviously through the week we'll break down the ins and outs and get to the footy side of it. It's all motivation. It's all Queensland at the moment. But just on New South Wales, in a team selection point of view, it's pretty unusual for New South Wales to lose a game and stick solid. Yeah,
it is. I think it's a good sign. And I also think it's an indication that, although Laurie hasn't spoken about the referees, the client's performance in Game 2, that he put a lot of it down to that, I think it's a good sign that New South Wales, and that they do have an advantage over Queensland in that respect. Historically, there's always been an advantage for teams who make the fewest changes and who can get through one game to the next with little change, if no change. And no change at all is the ideal situation. The fact they've come off a loss to do that is the unusual part to it. But that said, I like the fact that Laurie's really settled on this team, likes this team, and there's all they have to do, game 1, training session 1, is just start building on what they did the last game. That's the big advantage they've got. They don't have to spend a day or two just getting used to new combinations, or like a new ball player, shot caller in the side or something like that. It's just move on, boys. Let's just pick up where we did last time. So that's a really big benefit in New South Wales. The other part, though, the concerning part, is generally when things are going well for New South Wales is always a bad sign, I think, for New South Wales.
Yeah.
Like New South Wales have this horrible habit of getting a little bit carried away with themselves. You know what I mean? Look, boys, everything's going okay. We're going well here. We've had no suspensions, no injuries. We're moving into it. Or we just donkey licked Queensland in the previous game. Let's just go out. And they almost try to play like it's the 81st minute of the game before, rather than the first game of the next one. And Queensland are very good at going back, resetting, coming in and saying, okay, boom, let's go. New South Wales, they can get a little bit ahead of themselves, and I think that's what Laurie's got to really focus on during his time in camp, is to go, guys, this is a whole new game. It's the same team, but it's a whole new game. We have to start again. And there was a lot of things that they can work on out of Game 2, which probably gives them, which is a good sign for New South Wales, because it gives them something to actually proactively try and do in camp, as opposed to just everything went so well, they're just going to go through the motions a little bit, which they try not to. They won't, and they'll never admit to. But they so often they start the game so poorly, and you think their heads just aren't there. They're not ready for the intensity. Queensland always get their intensity right. The difference for Queensland in this series from Game 1 to Game 2, as far as their application, was chalk and cheese. It was unbelievable how easily they were beaten physically in Game 1. New South Wales just poured through them through the middle, got up fast, put them on their backs. Game 2, and I was saying this, there was a lot. The simple remedy was run harder, tackle harder, which sounds so basic. It sounds like you don't know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? But that's all they did. You could just see the shift in attitude. Queensland just tackled harder, ran harder, and suddenly that little 1% difference became everything.
Well, we'll try and find what that 1% might be either way throughout the week here on Kenty Blitz. But let's get to a bit of club footy. And for the life of me, Kenty, I still can't work out how Tallyn Da Silva today is hanging out in Parramatta gear as opposed to his West Tigers tracksuit.
Yeah.
Given how it's all played out. And the Addo-Carr thing to the side, just on this kid, about what's the play here from the Tigers to allow him to go? Was there something happening behind the scenes in terms of unhappiness, unrest, because Lockie Galvin, his good mate, went? Where does it fall?
Look, it's probably not one sole thing there. It's probably all these contributing factors. So first off, the Tigers had themselves in a little bit of a pickle because Addo-Carr is the club captain. He's a highly priced recruit, and he's doing the job that they need him to do, and he's indicated he wants to keep playing at the club and wants to extend his contract. Tallyn Da Silva is 20 years old, coming through, and everybody thinks he's going to have a really bright future in the game. Now, but he can't sit for another 3 years behind Addo-Carr. He's got to miss a lot of good football if he has to sit behind Coruscant for that long. So that's the dilemma that the Tigers found themselves in. Now, on top of that, the concern for the Tigers is that, and it has been voiced, but nobody wants to talk about it, is that Benji's made a decision to win today over tomorrow, so to speak.
Yep.
And we've seen that happen. That happens quite a bit, okay? And that's sometimes where you need other people at the club to come in and sort of put their experience forward and say, look, perhaps we should look at this differently. It is difficult because I don't know if Da Silva would be around for that long, but there was a choice to say, or an option that they could have at least raised where they put him out on loan. If you remember, Harry Grant came to them when Cameron Smith was still playing at Melbourne, had a year at the Tigers because he was ready to play first grade. Cameron wanted to play one more year. Couldn't do that if it's going to be 3 years. The other part that comes into it is this, though, is he's managed by Isaac Moses, okay, who we're all still bruised about Isaac Moses taking Lachlan Galvin out of the Tigers and the way that happened. And I think there was a part of the Tiger hierarchy who were concerned that if they committed to Da Silva, it might backfire on them anyway. There was no guarantee, given that Galvin was signed for another couple of years, there's no guarantee that if they did sign him and then sacrifice Los Coruscant, that they would actually keep him for the entirety of his contract or even worse, the entirety of his career. So I think that was in the back of their minds as well. There's certainly no trust between the Tigers and Isaac Moses. So there's no, okay, look, he's happy to sign, we'll keep him here. Moses has clearly indicated his displeasure with things that are happening at the club in the Galvin case. And other than a couple of things which were specific to Galvin, some of those other concerns were club concerns. So there's still the same concerns that Da Silva would have.
It's this whole Isaac Moses thing with Tigers, for me, outside looking in, you'd know more about it. Surely they've just got to somehow find a way to smoke the peace pipe because he's always going to have players. He's a very powerful agent and a very good one on the basis of he gets what his client requires at that time or agitates for.
He is.
So he's a damn good guy at his job, and the Tigers are always going to be around because they're always going to have roster spots that need filling. So they've got to somehow find a way to get on the same page.
You'd think so, okay? But you look at the Roosters who just let that kid go, Mikey Nasser, right? They just let him go. He's a young fullback coming through. He's played state schoolboys. He was part of their premiership-winning flag team, I think it was. And Nick Police refuses to deal with Isaac Moses, and because Isaac Moses manages Mikey Nasser, the Roosters let him go. Okay, he's gone to Canterbury. Now, Phil Gould for a while there didn't speak to Isaac Moses either. Over the summer, he smoked the peace pipe with Moses. Lo and behold, isn't that benefiting him now? He's got Lockie Galvin. He's just got a good young kid from the Roosters called Mikey Nasser who plays fullback. Fullback's a position that in a couple of years you would imagine they're probably looking for. So Gould's shown the benefits of actually going out and forming or at least burying the hatchet with this manager. The problem is, for the club's point of view, and I really sympathise with the clubs here, is you can't do a good deal anymore with players because the minute the player thinks or the manager thinks his player is there, they got him too cheap. He says, kick stones, we'll renegotiate a release or a new deal or something. We'll get the clubs are getting bent over in that situation, and the NRL is not strong enough to stop the managers forcing those situations on clubs. There isn't like a backroom sort of what's they call, like they're looking at it. They're having they've
got a salary cap committee forming, don't they?
Well,
they're doing
that. They're doing that. Gould's on that one too, which is interesting because I don't see how he's going to come in and tell us how we're going to get the salary cap right when he's the guy that benefits most by the way it's all working now. Like, he's the guy that's figured it out better than anyone. And this, I say this respectfully about Gould. Why would he want to come in and say to everybody, let's get rid of this and do this and do this, when under the current system, he knows it better and he operates it better?
Yeah, but he's been a long time critic of it as well.
I don't think it'll fix anything though.
No.
But the problem is, the other thing is too though, Adam, and this is where I have a concern for players, is we've seen with Moses taking Galvin out, we've seen with Moses taking Da Silva out, we've seen with this Mikey Nasser, who I don't know from a bar of soap. Okay, I don't know anything about him. But the fact that his football club doesn't deal with his manager, rather that result in him getting rid of his manager and getting a new manager to stay at the club, it's actually resulted in the manager taking him out of the club. And I think what these young kids do not understand well enough is that the manager works for you. You don't work for the manager. You're not there to help the manager get more successful and have more players in a club and be able to run a club. The manager works for you. You're the one giving him 6 to 10% of your salary, whatever your agreement is with him. You're paying him. He's not paying you. And the managers are very good, like, not all of them, I know that, but some of them are very good at making these young kids feel that like they owe the manager something. Yeah. And it's not the right thing happening. The players have got to understand that the manager's working for them. And I don't think there's enough education put in that place that's the way it works. But the way the system is at the moment, you can understand that train of thought, because the managers are allowed to have so much power because the NRL are not coming in and doing anything to stop it.
I reckon that there's a school of thought out there that if a player agitates for a move away from his club, 18 months to go on his contract, 2 years to go on his contract, he has to go to the other club at the same rate. So he's purely going for football reasons, not financial reasons.
I agree. I don't know why it's not an area. There's a couple of other things too. This is what they also should be doing, because the corruption amongst the managers, let me loose there one day. But I also think there should be like a central registry at the NRL. So if I'm Tallyn Da Silva and I'm on the market, I sit there and but Parramatta want to sign me, if West want to offer me an extension, if St George Illawarra come in or whoever comes in, they ring the NRL. They say, look, this is Mark O'Neill from Parramatta. I'm the general manager. We're formally putting an offer into Tallyn Da Silva, 3 years, $400,000 a year. And it's there. And then if St George Illawarra want to come in and they ring up, Shane Flanagan rings up, okay, we're going to put one in, 3 years, $350,000 a year. Then if Da Silva, he can ring the club. And much like when you ring your bank, you've got passwords and all the rest of it, you get into it and you say, righto, and they say, okay, mate, these are the offers for you. Because I know for a fact that some managers don't pass on all the offers because they don't want their player to go to that club. Yeah, right. Like there's all sorts of trickery going on. But a central registry like that would would also inform the NRL of what's going on. Like it's like Jack Whiten. Jack Whiten leaves Canberra to take less money to go play at the Rabbitohs.
That's worked out well.
Yeah, it has, but
for Jack, for Sacks, for success. I'm sure he's having a great time at Maroubra there with his mates.
But that's
anyway.
But well, his mates were in Canberra too. But it also generally if you think something's going on wrong in that area, it generally is. Yeah, like the rugby league. There's very few who butter doesn't melt in their mouths in the rugby league world. You know what I mean? Like there's all sorts of games going on. It would just be a simple fix for me if they did something like that.
We've got off track on the rundown, but just back to...
We can do it all tomorrow.
We'll do a few things tomorrow, but I just want to give a shout out to the touchy with that Josh Addo-Carr call. Yeah. Because that was a damn difficult call. Brave, yeah. And obviously it's one of those you got to take on this, because it was like you needed the microscope out on the replay to say, oh yeah, he did actually clip the line.
Yeah.
It was one of those where some people thought still, especially para fans, and fair enough too, that, oh no, he didn't touch the line there. It was a try.
Yeah, the thing about that is everybody's got their opinion. And this is why part of the frustration with the bunker process is, now, let's be mindful, the bunker didn't come in this process, right? But generally, you talk to people now about that incident. Some think he was out, some think he was in. Now, in this instance, the bunker could not get involved under the rules of the game because it didn't end up in a try-scoring situation or point-scoring situation. Because he put it up, the play was stopped. That's where play ended. Yeah. Right, even though they did actually go over and score, okay? But that's where play ended at that point. That's why it didn't go up to the bunker. But this is what annoys me about all this. Yeah, we have this sort of circular argument in rugby league, and it's great for the media and great for the newspapers and all that sort of rubbish because they just get to recycle arguments. So in this instance, we all go, why didn't the bunker get involved? He should have looked at it. It should have gone to the bunker so we know. Now, that's for the people who thought he was still in field. Yeah. The people who thought he was out, why would you go to the bunker for? Because we're just wasting more time. Yeah. And we're already sick of people going to the bunker all the time. Refs going there. They go there all the time. So what they'll do, particularly this is the way the media will argue, they'll go, we should have gone to the bunker. There should have been a bunker issue. We should have done that. And then in next week's game, when it does end up in a try-scoring one, and this time he's about a centimetre further in or further out, whichever way it goes, we go, why are we going to the bunker for?
Exactly.
I'm sick of there's too much time wasted in the bunker. Mate, it does my head in. But that's the way the world
Oregon was the right call, though, you reckon?
We're going to debate it. No, we're not actually. I'm satisfied with it. Yeah, I'm satisfied with it. Like I'm not convinced. I couldn't argue that the touchy was wrong. Yeah, so I'm happy to live with it.
I was satisfied too. I think a lot of people, apart from para fans, still they got a good hooker this
and
week.
And they're not rational Parramatta fans, are they? So.
What would you be given their last couple of years since the grand final?
Poor old Eels.
Kenny, we're going to talk about the Sharks this week. They've got a bit of self-reflection to do over the bye round, but we'll have a chat about that. NRLW starting this week, which is exciting, so we'll get our teeth into that. Origin, plenty happening in rugby league all the time, isn't there?
Always is.
Kenty Blitz, that was your Monday.